So, Wetters, good thing the interchange restrictions haven't been placed on this show because it's out Barden in wedlock.
Yeah, Bard's missing tonight, Housey. We'll see him next week. Big fella, and he'll enjoy the finals on the weekend.
Well, he's going to slip back and give us from the back line, but apart from that, he won't be doing too much in the show. He's pouring a few beers.
So what you've basically told all of our 3 listeners is this show is not live. This show is chopped up over 2 or 3 days and people come in and out of this studio. This is what you've said to people.
Yeah, to the 65 viewers from last week, and it shows how the Sydney Swans don't rate anymore.
No. You got the scores from last week, Housey?
No, I haven't, but you have, haven't you?
I've got nothing, mate. Put them up on the screen. Okay, so Sydney 16-4, 100, Hawthorn 17-10, 112. We were behind at three-quarter time and came back to win our first game from a deficit at three-quarter time in a couple of years. Goals for Hawthorn, Roughhead 4 and the Coleman medal, Franklin 2, Bruce 2, Gunston 2. Stephen Kernahan said he was the best kick for goal he'd ever seen during the week. Burchell, Lewis, Hale, Mitchell, Puopolo, Anderson and Lake kicked his first goal for Hawthorn.
All right, well, Bards has actually sent through his 5-4-3-2-1.
Spanger get a gig?
Look, let me tell you, but he did threaten, didn't he, through the week that he was going to give him 5-4-3-2-1, but he actually gave Jordan Lewis 5, Sawley 4, Berger 3,
Burgoyne,
and Ruffy 2, and Poppy 1. And he said special mission for Matt Spanger's last 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. Spanger is a good, honest bush footballer who works very hard. Doubt he'll be playing this week with Bailey coming back into the side.
And if he is, I'm going to have to edit that out of the show.
Well, we've already told everybody that this has been shot over 3 or 4 days. I mean, you have to produce the crap out of it, let's be honest.
There was a time when I was in a hurry as you are. I was like you.
So, Adam, it was an interesting game. I mean, we were behind most of the night, weren't we? But we were never out of it. And I watch Fox rather than Channel 7 because I hate watching those commercials in between.
Yep.
And I also like watching the commentary in between. They have a lot of special commentators. Mark McClure said we were never out of it. He said at half-time, I think Hawthorn will roll over the top, and at three-quarter time, and everyone laughed, and Dunstall did their, I'm going to be the conservative Hawthorn thing, they can't win. He said, I still think they'll roll over the top, and he was right. It started with that kick of Mitchell.
I don't mean that, Joel. Lewis to full forward, Rampy up, Kennedy tapping it, and then taking them on. He's in trouble. The ball does come out. Saul, twisting, turning. Mitchell off the step. He's a beautiful kick, Mitchell. And he's got the goal. And Hawthorn are closing.
Did you know so, Bruce, at the beginning of that? You just hear this thing about Joel, we're sorry, right? Because he's just had a crack at
right.
Jordan Lewis about ducking the head, and, you know, that's just a Selwood-like thing, and then he's apologised to him. But anyway, so that really kicked it off, didn't it? Mitchell doesn't like to kick the goals, but he kicked a goal, inspirational, and off they were running.
Yep, and then Anderson came on at three-quarter time, and that smother.
Particularly good kick. It wanders down towards half forward. Gunston did brilliantly. Anderson's kick was charged down. The man who did it goes back and foxes it. That was Malcheski. Kennedy's holding the footy. Anderson kept on coming. He had the ball 30 metres away just moments before.
So, yeah, I mean, you then question, well, why wasn't the bloke on rather than Savage? Because the macho man ran around and got 5 possessions. What a joke.
Yeah, I've got some question marks over Savage and 1 or 2 others coming into this month, and I thought Anderson did a great job with limited opportunity, after three-quarter time.
And he helped us get on a roll after that, and then, you had that great goal of Ruffy's, and the commentary is here is a bit rough, but at the end of the day, Bruce sums it up.
Mitchell, so good with ball in hand, gets a good kick forward. Ruffy doing it well, nearly took Puopolo's head off, and then Poppy, back to Ruffy! Oh, brilliant! It might be the Coleman kick. They're in front. Gee, that was good.
And to be honest, that's about the highlights. Now, the low light is this one.
Centering the ball, Everett gets back. So Spanger rushed that a bit, didn't he?
Yep.
So released Malcheski, did Everett. Gee, that's bloody, eh? He's reported him. So Franklin's been reported here. What do you see, Lee and Tom? Well, you can tell you.
Looks like a high bump that's made contact to Melcheski's head.
Now, that's not good, is it really?
Brain dead is the word I would use. This is a guy that is one of the top 2 or 3 players in the AFL, and obviously a guy that's performed in big matches and finals, and to do that in a game that was pretty pointless and meaningless was ridiculous, really.
And this is what Clarko had to say at the end of the game.
Can't any of you f***ing kids bring this shit under control?
You get your heads together and you do something.
Let's go to our Facebook site and have a look at some of the feedback. It's actually great when you get an interstate game and people are interacting during the course of the game. Now, I started one just to get us all rolling, and mine was, what would have happened if Tippett had played?
He would have been restricted to about 2 kicks and a handball by Brian Lake. I did notice our Dutch Anglo/Singaporean mate Nicholas Hogendijk said that he and Buddy would have a chat about massive contracts and moving clubs, and that's quite possibly what would have happened too before Buddy probably shouldered him to the head or something like that.
Scott Spence, question, do we really need Buddy for the finals?
One word answer, yes.
All right. And the goal came back and said, take Spanger off, put Anderson on?
Take Savage off, which is exactly what happened, and Anderson came on, and Spanger had a good last quarter, so Scott close but not quite close enough.
I think I've been drinking at this stage. Why Anderson should have tarted? I think I meant started.
Well, it was self-evident in the last quarter as to why he possibly should have started. That said, we didn't know what sort of lack of output we get from Savage on the night.
Then I had the question, should Buddy sign on Monday to make up for tonight's error in judgment?
No, he should put his head down, though, and play 2 very good finals for Hawthorn at the back end of September.
Bards came and said, Matty Spanger, get around him.
No, looks like the Bush Tucker man, probably smells like him too.
And then your mate Nick came around and said, are we allowed to use this forum to petition for Bruce? I have nothing value to say. McAvaney and his Muppet co-commentator Dennis, I make up endless silly comments committee to be removed permanently from all future AFL broadcasts.
Yeah, I agree, but at this stage we have a little over 100 members, so I don't know how far the petition's going to go.
Then Narelle came and said, seriously can't play at Simmons.
Right. Next.
And then Jeff, we'll come back to Jeff actually.
Yes, back to Jeff.
We'll come back to Jeff, we'll round it out. Then there was mine, where is that stupid Sydney chant now?
They'd gone home.
Now Jason Williams came in with one and said Hallahan had won the JJ Liston Trophy, senior selection.
I think you covered it off, mate, when you said not this year, and that's fair enough, but certainly one to look at next year.
And last but not least, Jeff, on the matter of a letter.
Well, my baby, she wrote me a letter.
Yes, Jeff, I got the letter today belatedly. It's kind of a bend-over letter, isn't it? And they forgot the lubrication. And I can see your point exactly, mate. It's just the biggest cash grab of all time. As it sits now, you've got to front up an extra $100 or so a year to keep the very seat that you've had for years at the expense of new members that weren't there during the tough times.
But at the end of the day, we're all going to pay it.
We're all going to pay it. I'm a 10-year member, which means I joined when Hawthorn finished second last and bought a reserve seat at that point, and so I think that's unreasonable for me to have to move my seat to accommodate some Johnny-come-lately on the back of the success of this Hawthorn side and a very good marketing campaign.
So, Wetters, you're going to give us a bit of a double whack, I gather, here.
Am I allowed to whack? I've got problems this week, Housey, and I've got to get them off my chest.
So lead with the left and then come with the right.
Yeah, all right. Well, 2 things. First and foremost, the arrogance of Andrew Demetriou knows no bounds whatsoever. I see that he had the temerity, no, not the temerity, the raw nerve to come out and say that hunters and collectors have reformed, especially to do the AFL Grand Final. Did you hear this?
I did.
Andrew Demetriou, you arrogant. Have a look at Hunters and Collectors' schedule over the summer, you moron, and then come back and tell the people that they reformed to do the AFL Grand Final. My second whack, Housey, is over this dwarf saga with the St Kilda Football Club. The problem's not with the Saints. I mean, my problem is with the Saints. They set fire to a poor guy, but the way this has been reported, Everybody has lost sight of the fact that this is a human being. Every report that I've seen has led with St Kilda players set fire to a dwarf. And it's all about the fact that this guy is a dwarf. The man is a human being, and he's been marginalised by just inept, incompetent reporting. And it's pathetic. It really is.
All right, Adam, so a couple of ad hoc things along the way now, all important Hawthorn supporters. First of all, the Baby Hawks, the Box Hill Hawks, they played well. Quick score there for the final was 13-8-86 to Williamstown 7-14-56, and that means they're through to a preliminary final. And our mate Grimley kicked 3.
He did, and Box Hill just rolling along beautifully this season, and they march on. Good games from the likes of Chaney and Osborne, Simpkin as well. Probably Simpkin and Chaney are on backup for the finals. Osborne probably hasn't played enough footy. I'd love to see Aussie get another game for the senior side, but might have run his race very late this season.
And the Liston Trophy winner, Mitch Hallahan, he got 26 disposals, so another good game. But as I said in my thing on Facebook, I don't actually think he'll make it until next year, but look out for him next year.
Yep. Now,
a few other things we won along the way, or we didn't personally, but Hawthorn did, or more to the point, Ruffy, and that was the Coleman medal, so well done to Ruffy. I think we're all pretty rapt about that. And that means we'll have 2 Coleman medalists running around in the team at the one time.
Correct, and while we're at it, 5 All-Australian nominations in the extended squad. Gibson, Franklin, Mitchell, Hodge, and, of course, Roughhead. I think we can safely assume that whilst they've had great seasons in their own individual ways, Franklin and Gibson will probably miss out. The other 3 guys, in my view, are morals to make the All-Australian team.
All right, well, we'll see how you go in a couple of weeks' time, Adam.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cocked your head to the side and said I'm angry. 5 days since you laughed at me, saying get that together, come back and see me.
Now, Adam, after Friday night, we've got a hard decision to make, don't we?
If you're talking about Saturday's election, you'd be spot on, mate, but I noticed that you saw something in your letterbox during the week.
It's quite cute for me.
I bet it is.
Like, I live in a blue ribbon seat, so my vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
And I like to play around with the vote.
Fair enough.
And, 1 year I voted for the Wizard Party. And another year I voted for Tim Ferguson from the Doug Anthony All-Stars.
Really?
But this year, there's a bloke called John Kennedy in my electorate. How can I not vote for a bloke called John Kennedy?
Good question, mate.
Just disappointed with his leaflet. It should say, don't think, do! All right, Em. Well, after that segment, I think we need Bards to bail us out with from the back line.
All right, Grant, big game, mate, and we've got a few changes coming in. Bailey, Rioli at this stage, and Guerra, and going out, Franklin, of course, suspended, and Savage and Duray have been dropped. From the back line, Stratton, Lake, Guerra. Halfbacks are Burgoyne, Gibson and Birchall. The centre line is Smith, Hodge and Hill. The half-forwards are Bruce, Gunston and Lewis. The forward line, Piopolo, Roughhead and Rioli. The rucks are Hale, Mitchell and Sewell. And the interchange bench, Spanger, Whitecross, Bailey and Anderson. Emergencies, Shields, Savage and Duray.
So, Bards, I've got to let you know, we gave away a bit of a secret about when we record the program, except for this segment, and he went early. And he said there was no way Spanger would get picked this weekend. What do you got to say to that?
How was he ever going to miss out? Franklin out, Spanger in. Fair enough, Bailey has come back in as well, so he might be a little lucky to hold his spot. But he was in the side last week with Franklin. Bailey comes in for Franklin. Spanger holds his spot. Sounds fair to me.
Well, given this show's also recorded earlier, and we've given away what the margin will be, and the people will hear that very shortly. What's your margin?
I'm going to go with 3 goals.
Excellent. Well, we'll see you next week, Bards.
All right, Grant, I will see you next week, and go Hawks.
All right, well, he's not going to hang around for the match review, so we're back.
We are.
Now, this is with our buddy.
Without Buddy? Yeah, look, it poses an interesting dilemma for Hawthorn Friday night, but then that said, I think they've won 14 of the last 15 by an average of about 9 goals without Franklin. I expect Hawthorn to win, but it's going to be very interesting to see how they structure up and how they go about stopping Tippett. Hannaberry comes back in for the Swans, who's obviously a brilliant footballer. But what are your thoughts, Howsy?
I don't know. It's a bit like last week. Bards and I went, we don't know where this game's going to go, but we thought we were going to win. And I think as a Hawthorn supporter, you always think we're going to win. You know, Clarko will structure up the team accordingly. But, you know, we've always got to be on our guard. But I think we learnt a lot about the Swans. They came out and hit us hard last week, really hit us hard. So, you know, can they do that 2 weeks in a row? What's their other trick going to be? Are they going to try and carve us up with pace? I don't think they have the same sort of pace. Are they going to take advantage of Tippett's there? So it's more for Lake and Gibson to get their mind around. But then I thought they were pretty flat, as was Stratton. So I think we've probably got a lot to lift around the game from last week.
Good points, and I think one of the major things going to this game is that we got smacked in the ruck last week as hard as Hale and Spanger tried. They're not going to get away with it in the same fashion this week because Bailey will at least half the contest at clearances. So you're going to have Mumford and Pike, who are brilliant footballers in their own right. They're going to have to earn it this week.
All right, well, let's get into the margin. I'm thinking 27, but Barts has never allowed me to go with points this year. I've had to go with goals, so I'm going to round up to 5.
Okay, look, I think Hawthorn will win. I think it will be tight for 2.5 quarters, but we will get away 38 points.
All right, and on that note, go Hawks!